we're going to be cutting scoring lines, meaning a very shallow depth cut into the top of the workpiece. I chose a 4-inch distance between each cut to represent the distance between the center of each dog hole. Simply continue to make additional cuts by adding 4 inches at a time to your total distance from your edge guide. I find the Craig Rip Cut is really effective. I actually like it far more than their AccuCut track system, whatever you want to call it, although they do use the same base plate. This thing comes in handy on the job site or whether I'm just playing with it at home. It's fast and it's very simple. So as you can see, I'm continuing until I reach a point where I can no longer extend it far enough. Now I need to switch edge guide sides, line up with that first cut that I can reach, check my numbers, and then use that new distance to convert the next 4 inches. I can just subtract 4, boop, and keep going. We're making a grid, as you can see, of very shallow scored cuts. These cuts are going to be on the underside of your workbench. They shouldn't be an issue unless you plan on flipping it eventually, but if you don't have a parf guide system or something else, I recommend trying this out because you're going to get a really accurate and easy to drill setup, and you don't need to go out and spend a ton of money. Now as you can see, I've pulled the square out, grabbing a ruler. I'm about to begin the perpendicular lines, and I want to make sure I have all my measurements right. I'm also checking to make sure that I'm using another factory edge. If you've cut the board, if you can ensure your cut was straight, feel free to use that side. But I want to use a factory edge, and I even took time to sand them all to make sure there was no divots or any little angles that got bent out when I moved the wood. You'll notice that I keep pulling my square out. This is not something you'll probably have to deal with. I'm using a new circular saw, and I discovered that it just does not like to sit flat on the the rip cut plate. And so it got off square or moved around, but luckily I didn't make any cuts in that positioning and I was able to adjust it in time. Please save yourself a lot of trouble and ensure that your saw is not moving. The integrity of your dog holes being lined up is absolutely reliant on that being square with your edge guide. All right, my grid is now complete. I'm going to clean things up with a brush so that I can see every line and every intersection. I want to know that they are fully cut because that intersection is going to work as my initial drill bit guide. You'll see the bits I'm using have a protruding threaded end that grips the wood as it goes in, and I find these really useful because it pulls itself right into that little crosshair. Take your time, make sure your cuts are true, make sure that the intersections line up with the distances you wanted. This is your last opportunity before you drill, and you can cut a million lines. Even if you messed up, just do another one that's right and then mark it so you know later it's the right one. There's really no way you can mess this up unless you rush and start drilling and you're not lined up. And what's the point of doing all this measuring if you're just going to cut a board with random holes? I highly recommend, if you're not worried about the layout being perfect, just drill them wherever the heck you want. My intention is to use this with a track saw, so I need them to be parallel. Now on to our second required tool, a drill guide. Now you don't need one as complicated as the one I have here, but this was from Harbor Freight and it was about $9, so they're not expensive and you can get them on Amazon as well. I'm going to speed up the video because I have a lot of holes to drill, but as you can see, I'm just beginning each hole so that I protrude through the back end of the board, but I do not actually carve through it with the 3/4 inch bit diameter, only the beginning tip. I just need a small hole on the back side so I can begin the bit from the other side when I turn it over. This will ensure I don't get a huge blowout and I have a nice solid grip for whatever dog or clamp or accessory I'm placing in there. This is a big project with a lot of planning, and if you're going to rush yourself, don't bother. I mean, you're taking your time on this to save yourself a lot of money and a lot of energy, so lay it out, take your time. You'll actually see that I didn't go quite far enough on a few holes, and I wasn't quite confident that I could accurately place where I needed to drill. So I skipped them, and I came back. I flipped it over, and I drilled through again, making sure this time to get a protruding tip. I wasn't in a rush, and because of that, I ensured that all of these holes are exactly to the requirements I need. I used a palm router to round over each hole on both sides, but it was too dark for me to film. I apologize. But as you can see, these holes are parallel and they are looking fantastic. I wanted to make this as easy as possible with entry-level tools so that anyone can do this because I felt really priced out with a lot of the other guides. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching my video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed my content. I plan on making a lot more, and this is just the first of many to come.